adventures. Now, he was told by the Puerto Rican natives he'd find an island to the north called Bimini. On the island of Bimini was supposed to be the Fountain of Youth. That fountain had fruit trees surrounding it with golden fruit on the branches. There were beautiful maidens that would pluck the fruit and feed it to you, and if you drank from the water, it not only stopped aging, you'd age backwards and get young again. This is just what Ponce needed after losing his job. But he missed the island of Bimini. He sailed right by it, ended up landing here Easter Sunday, 1513. Now, at the landing site, there were wildflowers blooming all over the place that reminded him of an Easter celebration. Back in Spain,
that's good, the wind. Right, babe?
Which literally means a feast of flowers. So he named the place after the flowers, La Florida. Now, Ponce, he did not discover Florida. There were already 100,000 Native Americans here to greet him when he arrived. But he did discover something rather important for Spain, and that was the Gulf Stream. Now, that's a rapidly moving current of water just off our coast that would slingshot those treasure ships back to Spain in half the time. Now, the treasure ships, they were laden with gold and silver, like you can imagine. But they also had spices on board, and every pirate's favorite food, chocolate. Now, that's what us pirates were after. You can't eat the gold and silver. It was the chocolate and the rum. Now, those were the true treasures. Spain, they tried to settle Florida several times. Due to hostile natives, lack of supplies, and bad weather, they were having a terrible 50 years went by. They still had no permanent settlement. If you look out here to the left over the top of the trees, you'll see the Great Cross. Marks the landing site of our founder, Pedro Menendez, September 8, 1565. Pedro Menendez was given 3 orders by the king once he arrived. One, get rid of the French. See, there was a French settlement up near present-day Jacksonville, was known as North Carolina. Number 2, settle the place once and for all for Spain. Spain was having a hard time with Florida due to hostile natives, lack of supplies, and bad weather. Order number 3, Christianize the Native Americans. That was clearly outside the job description of Pedro Menendez. So he brought his friend, like Father Francis Lopez. It was Father Francis who got off the ship first. And when he came ashore, he made a cross out of palm logs. Pedro then arrived. Pedro marched up to the cross and knelt down before it, and he kissed it. He reclaimed the land for Spain. This time it was done so in the name of God. But there was an Indian village watching from the trees nearby, and they were so intrigued with what they saw, they did not feel threatened at all. In fact, they wanted to make friends. They chose to make friends by imitating Pedro Menendez. They marched up to the cross, in a line, one by one they knelt down and they kissed it, showing they were going to be friendly. They became instant friends that day. They even celebrated a meal together. It was a meal of Thanksgiving that was celebrated 55 years before the Pilgrims would even arrive at Plymouth Rock. After about 12 days, Pedro Menendez marched his troops north. There was a hurricane going on. He found Fort Caroline. The French fort was lightly guarded. He was able to take it with ease, and then he returned here to St. Augustine, where his friends now, the Timucuan Indians, informed him of ships that had sailed south. Now, Pedro realized these would be the French, that they would be after him if they survived the hurricane. And he also realized they would not probably survive, so he continued his own march south. He met up with 150 shipwreck survivors. He asked them all with a very important question: are you Catholic? Now, for Pedro Menendez, there was only one correct answer. It was yes. They said, no, we're French Huguenots. And for that, they were marched behind the sand dunes. In groups of 30 dispatched back to their maker with a Spanish sword, and their bodies were simply cast into the bay. There was a second group of about 100 that wanted to convert. Pedro liked that answer, took them captive for 2 days, but then he realized he couldn't feed them, and the next group meant the same demise. Now, we've been attacked many times by pirates. We became a walled city or a presidio because of these pirate attacks. If you look at our fort here on the left, you'll see our first wall with fence coming out the side of it. The Palm Log Wall was called the Kubo Wall. It goes from the fort through the city gates and then all the way down to the San Sebastian River about a half a mile. With Sir Francis Drake, who attacked us first in 1586 with 2,000 privateers. A privateer now is really nothing but a highfalutin word for a pirate sailing under the cover of the British flag. He burned our city to the ground, chased us into the swamps. We had nothing to greet us out there but snakes and alligators. We had a second wall that was known as the Rosario. The Rosario was an earthen berm that would have started about where the stop sign is here on the right. It would have gone to the left or south about 9 blocks where it would have met the water of the bay. A station along the walls, we had little mini forts called readouts. You'll see a reproduction of our Santo Domingo redoubt fort coming up here on the right. Now, in case you guys are wondering about going to the Fountain of Youth, be careful. This retirement community over here to the right, they were there earlier and they drank too much.
Drink too much. Drink too much. Oh.
So over to the right here, you'll see the Santo Domingo redoubt fort. The notches you see cut out of it are where we placed our cannons. We would defend the walls 24/7 with cannon musket fire. On the back side of the redoubt, you'll see a thicket of palms just underneath the notch there and in the corner. Those palms look innocent enough, but they're called the Spanish bayonet plant. If you tried to sneak through a thicket of those, you got all sliced up. It was kind of like going through modern day razor wire. So now we'll take a trip forward in history. The building here to the left is known as the Orange Street School. It was built in 1910. If you were lucky enough to be a teacher,
1910. Oh.
You taught grades 1 through 12. You were paid a whopping sum, $20 a month. Now, if that sounds like too much work for too little pay, you could have been a bus driver. But back then, that meant a horse and buggy. You would have picked the kids up in the swampy outskirts where the snakes and the alligators lived. You delivered them to school for the same amount, $20 a month. Now this beautiful building you see over here to the right, everyone take a good hard look at it. Isn't she a beauty? This beautiful building has absolutely no historical significance. Okay, well actually it is
I thought it was historical.
Our first parking garage. Now the site of our parking garage is also the site of the first luxury hotel in Florida, the San Marco. When the San Marco Hotel stood here, it was 5 stories tall. It had 3 towers on the front side. The tallest tower, you could see it as far as 16 miles out into the Atlantic Ocean. They had steam, heat, electricity, running water, and something called an Otis elevator. No climbing stairs for you. We had a very important guest through our history stay here. His name was Mr. Henry Flagler. He was one of the founders of the Standard Oil Trust. He was here celebrating his honeymoon with his second wife, Miss Ida Ellis. Now, I don't understand Mr. Flagler because on his honeymoon, he brought his business partner with. When I went on my own honeymoon, I only brought my wife with. Isn't that the way it's supposed to work? Yeah. You know, later in that marriage, Miss Ida Ellis threatened to kill him. Some people, they blame that on the opium medicine she was taking, but you know, I think she was probably taking that because of him in the first place. Now, straight in front of us here, you'll see the Visitor Welcome Center. It's made out of coquina stone. It was built by the Works Progress Administration, or the WPA, in 1930 as a public works project.
Wow.
They have a free museum in there. They have a scale model of Pedro's flagship. It's got a cutaway so you can look in the inside and see what it looks like on the inside. This is stop number 3. If you're getting off here, please wait for the bell. Exit to the left, backing off the trolley like ladder, holding on with 2 hands. Stop 3. All right, we're going to continue on. When you hear the bell, please fancy it all aboard. Now, you may have noticed the huge construction project going on across the street here. They think they're going to build a second San Marco hotel. You know, it's going to be a terrible failure. We have a height ordinance. You cannot build buildings taller than 35 feet tall anymore. bless it as a church steeple. Maybe they'll put a chapel in here, but it's really kind of doubting it. Now, when they dug their foundation hole here, they ripped out our state tree, the sable palm. The sable palm was used as a source of food